Hi there, and welcome to The Salted Pepper, where we cook for real life using real food and we keep it real simple. And today I'm going to show you how to make a very easy Hoppin John recipe in the Ninja Foodi. And I'm using the 6.5 quart Ninja Foodi, but you could use the 8 quart as well. And if you have the new compact model, that's a 5 quart, you can do this recipe with just a few modifications, and I would recommend you cut all the ingredients in half. I will list all of those steps in my written recipe on my website, thesaltedpepper.com. So if you have the 5 quart compact, you can still make this. I promise. I'll let you know how. All right, so Hoppin John, what is it? If you don't know, you're not alone. I didn't know. Somebody on Facebook the other day said, Louise, do you have a Hoppin John recipe? I said, a what recipe? And so, of course, I had to look it up, and I said, oh, okay, so it's a New Year's Eve, or a New Year's Day, it's a New Year's Day kind of tradition in the South, and it's a recipe that uses black-eyed peas that are dried, and usually a ham hock, or ham bone, and then sometimes collard greens, sometimes not. Basically, there's a whole bunch of different ways you can make it. So what I decided to do was start off with sauteing the vegetables in chorizo. And let me tell you, the end result is spectacular. So I really urge you to give this version a try. Not only is it easy, it's quick, and you also can make the rice at the same time. So that's great. Everything's gonna be done at the same time, which is perfect, especially if you're doing a New Year's Day dinner or a New Year's Day party and you have a bunch of people over. You want everything ready at the same time, this is your recipe. All right, so what I've started out with is 4 ounces of chorizo. And I'm gonna just open up the lid here, turn the Ninja Foodi on, hit the sear saute, and go ahead and get my chorizo into the pot here and let that heat up. Now, chorizo, I found it a couple different ways. I just got this at the regular grocery store, so it's not a specialty item or anything like that. And it comes in pork and beef. This is definitely the pork version. I wanted to, keep with the whole ham pork type of feel. So it's 4 ounces of the pork chorizo. Any brand is okay. It's going to be fine. I've even found it sometimes in the casing. If that's all you can find, that's fine. Just remove the casing and use 4 ounces. All right, so the next thing we're going to add is 1 large Vidalia onion. That is diced in about 1/4 to 1/2 inch dice. No need to be real particular about that either because it's gonna pressure cook for a little bit of time, so it's not gonna matter about the size. Did I forget to hit start again? I just had somebody email me the other day about that. She says, oh, she was really proud of herself for doing, for getting started with the Ninja Foodi. And then she says, well, I only messed up once. I forgot to hit start. I was like, oh, honey, don't worry. I forget to hit start and I'm on camera. It happens. It's fine. All right, the next thing, I'm not going to add those in quite yet because I want to talk about those. I'm going to add in 2 celery stalks that I have just sliced into about 1/4 to 1/2 inch slice. And one of them was pretty large, so I cut that in half and then just made these little slices. So that's 2 celery stalks. This is 1 green pepper that, again, I just diced up. These are into about 1/2 inch dice, and I'm going to put those in. Now, by this time, your pan will be hot and everything will start to saute because you didn't forget to hit the start button. But I'm going to be a little delayed here, and that is okay. No problems. All right, now ordinarily I don't add the garlic in until a little bit later, but with this recipe, it's not gonna matter. I'm gonna add in my garlic. This is 3 cloves of minced garlic. Just add that in. All right, so now let's talk about the jalapeno pepper because this is what makes it a little bit spicier than maybe you want. So everything else is gonna be fine, it's gonna be delicious. But with the jalapeno peppers, if you do not want spice, you can omit it completely. This is 1 medium-sized jalapeno pepper that I just sliced up. I'm using the seeds and everything. If you like medium spice, then cut out the seeds. If you don't like any spice, cut out the whole thing. And if you like a lot of spice, add in 2. And I am keeping the white part too. That's really spicy. I'm keeping it all in because when I tested this recipe, it was so delicious. It was the perfect amount of spice. It's not too spicy, but you definitely know it's there. And I thought it was wonderful. And so did Jeff. And neither one of us had this before, so we were really kind of shocked at how delicious it is. So if you haven't tried Hoppin John, don't let the ingredients deter you. It is fantastic. Like, I am a huge fan of it, believe it or not. All right, so I'm just gonna mix this up. We're gonna get the chorizo kind of heated up and starting to cook a little bit and get the flavor through the vegetables. And you wanna saute your vegetables about 5 to 10 minutes. So while they're sauteing here, I'm gonna go over the spices that we're gonna use. Now, in any recipe, you can always change the spices to better suit you, but this spice blend was outstanding. So what I'm using here is 2 teaspoons of sea salt, a half of a tablespoon of smoked paprika. That is sort of important. Now, can you get away with regular paprika? Of course, but it's not gonna add that little bit of smokiness to the dish that I think really just made it a standout, wonderful dish. I have 1 teaspoon of black pepper, 1 teaspoon of garlic powder, not the salt, and I also have a half of a tablespoon of cumin. So that's the spice blend that I'm gonna use. Now, I started out the recipe with 1 teaspoon of salt, but you know what? It needed the 2 teaspoons. This will serve 8 people, so I still don't think 2 teaspoons is a lot of salt for that. The ham hock that we're gonna use is right here. It's just one of the smoked ham hocks that I got at the grocery store. It isn't really that salty. It adds a little bit of the smoky flavor, a little bit of the richness, but it's not real salty, so don't be concerned about that. All right, I'm hearing everything starting to saute. I'm gonna mix this up. I'm gonna add in my spice blend now. Just mix it all up. All right, so I'm gonna let that go probably another 5 minutes. I do have the ham hock here, and you can even put that in right now. It's not gonna make any difference. So you could throw that in if you wanted, or you could put it in after you finish sauteing. It's not gonna make any difference. But let me just talk about the rest of the ingredients that I have here. This is 8 ounces of ham. This is leftover ham that I had. You don't even have to use the ham if you don't want to. I mean, you don't even have to use the ham hock if you don't want to. This dish is gonna be delicious with or without it. But I wanted to add the ham in just to have that meaty flavor. So 8 ounces of ham. And then I have 3 cups of chicken stock. And this is gonna be our thin liquid and also what the black-eyed peas are going to absorb. So now, black-eyed peas, these are dry. Sometimes you can get fresh black-eyed peas. This recipe is not going to work with fresh black-eyed peas. You're gonna have to change your cooking time. These are dried black-eyed peas that I just got in a bag at the grocery store. It's 8 ounces or about 1 1/4 cups, and I did rinse them. Not soak them, I just rinsed them. They're pretty fast cooking, believe it or not. So these are faster cooking than, let's say, a northern bean or a little small red bean. So they're pretty quick, so you don't need to soak them or anything. All right, it looks like we are done here. It looks and smells amazing. So now let's go ahead and add in our black-eyed peas. And our 3 cups of chicken stock. All right, now you can leave that on the high sear saute for this recipe and let that start to heat up. That's gonna be no problems at all. It will decrease your time to pressure, and that's fine because that's how I've developed the recipe, so it works perfectly. So while this is heating up, let me talk about the collard greens and get those cut up because we're gonna add those in stages. At least I am. You could choose to add them all in at the beginning. That would be fine. So the collard greens that I have decided to use, I know it's like a tree here, are fresh collard greens that I found at the grocery store, and they come in a nice big bunch and they're very inexpensive. So instead of getting the already cut up collards, I decided to do it this way. I have triple rinsed them, although these were the cleanest collard greens I've ever seen fresh. But you can get the bag that's already cut up. That's not gonna be a problem. You want a total of 4 cups of collard greens for this recipe. or more. You could add more, you could add less, you could omit the collard greens. They're not a necessity. So what I found is one, two, three, four, about 5 of these stalks will give us the 4 cups that we need. And again, you don't have to measure, it's not that big of a deal. So what I did was I just cut them off the stalk already because I wanted to clean them and let them dry a little bit. So that's already done. And now I'm gonna show you how I cut them. You don't have to cut them this way. You're probably gonna get them already cut anyway. I just line them up here. Now, some people will not use the stems. I understand that. But I use the stems. So I'm gonna add the stems in the second time we go under pressure. That's when we're gonna add the rice on top. The rice is not gonna be mixed in. The rice is gonna be on top, and I'm gonna add these in. And the reason why I did that is for texture. We have soft beans, soft ham, soft vegetables, soft rice, and I wanted a little bit of texture. It's not super crunchy. They do cook. If you get the fresh ones, I urge you to give this a try because it's delicious. So I'm not even gonna cut these right now because we're not gonna use them right now. And then I also am only going to put in half of the collard greens, so about 2 cups for this pressure cook. And the reason why I decided to do that, originally when I started testing the recipe, I thought, oh, you know what, I'll add these in now because they'll absorb a bunch of flavor and get really nice and soft. And then I'll add the other ones in when we just go under pressure for 2 minutes because I was hoping that they would stay vibrant and green and beautiful. They don't. They all end up looking the same and they kind of almost taste the same. There's just a little bit of difference in the texture. So you could add all of them in right now. It's not gonna matter. But my husband said it's so perfect. Just do it the way you did it because it was so perfect. I said, okay, I will. So I'm just gonna go down here and just make these chops, probably about, let's see, make these slices, I should say. So probably about 1.5 to 2 inches, and that's all I'm doing. So they're gonna be in these long strands, but they cook down to almost nothing. So we're gonna add those in now. All right, so that's about half of them. So that was about 2 cups. And we'll put those down in the liquid, and now we go under pressure for 10 minutes. This is the main pressure cook. The second pressure cook is simply to get the rice done. So if you did not want to do your rice at the same time, so if you want to make it separate or something like that, you can do that. You would just want to go under pressure right now for about, I'm gonna say 14 minutes. I haven't tested the recipe this way though, guys, but I'm gonna say 14 minutes because you're not gonna have the second time to pressure. So instead of 10 minutes, do 14 minutes and do a 5-minute natural release and you'll be fine. All right, and if you like your beans a little crunchier, then drop that 14 minutes down to 12 or even 11. All right, we're gonna go to the seal position and we're gonna put the pot on to pressure cook. High is what we want. 10 minutes is what we want. It's gonna come up to pressure fairly quickly because we've already been heating the liquid. That's perfectly fine. No natural release on this one. So after the 10 minutes of pressure cooking, we will immediately release the pressure. Then I'm gonna get the ham in because you don't wanna put your ham in now. It'll get kind of like overdone and kind of tough. So leave that out until the second pressure cook. Add in the rest of our collard greens and we'll get our rice on the rack on top because, like I said before, it's cooking separately. It's not cooking in the mixture. Although you could do that. I mean, that would be fine if you wanted, everything to be mixed together. But this is more traditional to have the rice separate. So we're gonna do it that way. All right, so the pin just dropped and we had gone under pressure for 10 minutes. It came up to pressure pretty quickly. I would say between 5 and 7 minutes, but I didn't time it this time. And then we went under pressure for 10 minutes and we did an immediate release, but you can see it took almost 3 minutes just for all the steam to release because it was, got a lot of thin liquid in there. Now we can go ahead and open up the lid. And whenever I do soups and things like that that have a lot of liquid, I usually open the lid pretty slowly just to make sure that everything is settled down enough. All right, so this looks good. Now we can just give it a stir around. It looks delicious. Yummy. Now the black-eyed peas are not completely cooked because we still are gonna go under pressure for 2 more minutes to get our rice done. So what I'm gonna do now is go ahead and add in the rest of the chopped up collard greens, which is about 2 cups. Plus the stem, so maybe 3 cups, 3.5 maybe. So the stems, I just cut them into little chunks, probably about, I would say they're about 1 inch maybe. We're just gonna dump those in the pot, and we're gonna get the ham in now. And don't worry, it looks like it's a really full pot, but it settles down quite a bit. All right, so this is 8 ounces of ham. It's just leftover ham that I had. And I'm just gonna mix this around. Kind of get the collard greens under the liquid and mix the ham around a little bit. All right, looks good. All right, so now let's talk about the rice. I am using basmati rice. You could use white rice, that would be okay. But I decided to use the basmati because I like the way it cooks up with this dish, and I just thought it was a good choice. But if you don't have it, you can use white rice. But don't use like minute rice or anything like that. That won't work. And what I have is 2 cups of rice, believe it or not. So I wanted to make enough rice that it would feed, 8 people. So we have 2 cups of rice and 2 cups of water. And I'm just gonna pour that in. The rice has been rinsed in a strainer. And you can see that the water level, this is all you can fit in the 6-inch Fat Daddy-O pan. You are gonna need a 6-inch pan if you're gonna do this my way, because this is the only thing that will fit on the rack in the high position is a 6-inch Fat Daddy-O pan, 2 inches deep. All right, so let me get the rack, and we're gonna nestle this into the inner pot and get it down into I kind of call it soup right now. That's what it looks like. All right, so once it's sitting in there, now the 2-inch pan can go on top. Now, I'm looking at this now, you might be able to get a 7 by 2-inch pan on top. I bet you probably could. If for some reason you don't have the 6-inch by 2-inch Fat Daddy-O pan, I have been thinking about how you might be able to do this. Number one, you could always cook the rice separately, like I talked about earlier. That would be one way. The other way that you might be able to do it is to create a foil packet, but you've got the rice and the water in there, so it's really got to be sealed pretty good, and you want the top to be open. So you could probably get away with that, but I have not tried it that way. I really encourage you to get the 6-inch by 2-inch Fat Daddy-O pan and the 8-inch by 2-inch Fat Daddy-O pan if you want to do a lot of layered cooking. Those are the sizes that work the best and give you the most ability to kind of layer different foods. Anything higher than 2 inches, you just run out of room. In the 6.5 quart. The 8 quart's different. So the 8 quart, you could probably get away with a 3-inch on top. I think that might work. I'm not sure though, the rack might sit higher. I don't know, you'll have to try it. I haven't tried it that way. All right, so now we're gonna close the lid again. We're gonna seal it back up. We're gonna hit the pressure button, high is what we want, and 2 minutes, and hit start. So this is gonna come up to pressure pretty quickly. I mean, it's already hot in there. We're gonna go under high pressure for 2 minutes, and then we're gonna do a 5-minute natural release, and then we're gonna get to taste our Hoppin John. All right, so the pot came up to pressure, and that didn't take too much time. I would say probably somewhere between 5 and 7 minutes, and then it cooked under pressure, high pressure for 2 minutes, and then we did a 5-minute natural release, and now I'm about to open up the valve in the back to vent and release the rest of the pressure. All right, so the pin just dropped, and you can see it took a good 3.5 minutes for that to happen. There was a lot of pressure and steam in the pot. And when that happens, I like to just kind of let it sit just for another minute or so, maybe even 30 seconds, and then I'll open up the lid. I just give it a little bit of time to really settle down in there. All right, that should be good. All right, there we go. Look at that rice. And this is one of the reasons why we don't cover it. There's 2 reasons. One is the added steam helps to really cook that rice through in the 2-minute cook time and the 5-minute natural release. And I know it puffs up because it's really to capacity in the 6-inch by 2-inch Fat Daddy-O pan. All right, so the first thing I'm gonna do is grab the rice out. And what you wanna do is you don't wanna leave it in this pan. You wanna dump it into a larger bowl so that you can fluff it up. And that's gonna prevent it from overcooking in the time it takes just for you to serve up your Hoppin John. So I'm gonna do this as carefully as I can here. Just sort of, I'm gonna use my scoop and spread and pour this rice right in here. There we go, now I can get a hold of it. Make sure you're using good heat protection on your hands. This is really, really hot. All right, and then just take your fork and sort of fluff it up. And this is perfectly cooked, fluffy rice, but not really sticky. That's one of the reasons why I like using basmati in this recipe. I think it really works well. So if you're gonna go out and buy rice for this recipe, definitely give the basmati a try. But if you have white rice or even jasmine rice would work fine. Jasmine sounds kind of funny, but you're not gonna taste the jasmine or anything in this recipe. There's too many other great flavors going on. All right, time to taste it. So let me give this a little stir. Oops, I gotta take my rack out. It looks beautiful. It really looks great. All right, now I'm gonna give it a little stir. If you want yours a little soupier than this, you can always start out with a little bit more liquid, but I like it just like this, and I think it's perfect. I think there's plenty of juice in there. All right, perfect. Smells so good. So, all right, let's dish it up here. I'm just gonna scoop a little bit of the rice out. Ooh, that rice is steaming hot. All right, now let's get some of the Hoppin John. Oh, wow. This looks beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. Get some of the liquid. Gorgeous. Gorgeous, gorgeous. Now, I've already eaten a bowl of this for dinner tonight because I was testing the recipe, of course, because this was a really quick develop, test, and get it out for you guys because we're running out of time for New Year's Day. All right, so I'm just gonna have like a little bite. I already know it's delicious. Let me get one of those stems that I know, if you have fresh collard greens, you can put those in. Perfectly cooked. Perfectly cooked. The rice is perfectly cooked. The collard greens, the little bit of spice is amazing in this. It's hot. Not spicy hot, it's hot, hot. Oh, the flavors are so perfect. The peas are perfectly cooked. I cannot believe that I did not know what Hoppin John was a week ago. This is definitely gonna be my New Year's Day meal every single year. It is delicious. And I pretty much can tell you that I might be making it more often. It's that good. Wow. I would definitely say, hands down, this is the best Hoppin John I've ever had. But it's also the only Hoppin John I've ever had. So if you are a fan of Hoppin John, please give this recipe a try and then let me know how does it rate against your Hoppin John. So I want to thank the person that brought this up in the Facebook group because I am blown away by this recipe and by the ingredients in a traditional Hoppin John. You know, I just added a little bit of spice to this with the chorizo and the jalapeno pepper, but other than that, it's pretty traditional. And man, it is so good. If you have a recipe that you always make and you want to share it with me, I will be happy to recreate it for the Ninja Foodi. Just send me an email, louise@thesaltedpepper.com.